I've said this to a few others that I spoke to. You don't know what it's like to come from a place like New Zealand. Currently, our temple has closed its doors for 3 years. Our one and only temple is closed for 3 years because they're renovating our temple. And everybody in New Zealand, for the prior to the closure, it's been really, really busy. And a lot of the wards have already had made plans to the closest temple for us to attend now. Will either have to be Australia, Samoa, Fiji, or even Hawaii. And that in itself takes a lot of toll out on the saints in New Zealand. Where we live, it takes about 5 hours to get to the temple that we have. And in the early stages, the buses that we used to catch up, we used to meet our bus at about 1 o'clock in the morning. He used to pick the saints up and take us through to the temple. We'll arrive there early hours of the morning and we'll do the session. And then it'll take us all the way back home again. A lot of the times the buses that they sent us weren't very nice buses. It was leaking when it rained, and sometimes it'll break down. And oft times, I still remember the old people that sitting in the bus, and some of them used to go out in the rain and push the bus and joyfully get that started. And it was a lot of struggles for our saints back then. Things have improved quite a bit now, but you don't know the feeling that we have to be able to travel along your highways and to see a lot of the steeples scattered around the plain. And then not only that, to scan the area and to see 2 temples in one eye shot. Now that really pulled the heartstrings. Our old people, when the buses broke down and we in the rain and everything, the only ones for years it was like that, and the only ones that ever moaned were the young saints. Our elderly couples never moaned once. They were just happy to know that they were going to the temple. You know, I just want you to know that testimonies we have at home are really, really strong. Our relationship to our ancestors are intertwined. We don't do anything without acknowledging those of our deceased that have passed on. There is a sure knowledge of members and non-members alike of our people that know for surety that our ancestors are waiting for us on the other side of the veil. Hence, when the church reached New Zealand in the early stages, our people flocked to it like honeybees to a flower. I just want to finish off in conclusion by, because of the missionary program, a lot of our families have been able to seal themselves not only to their families but also connect themselves to their ancestors. Grateful for the missionary work. I too am a convert of the church. It wasn't until I moved up north and met my wife that missionaries came knocking on the door and converted me into the church. I mentioned before that to others that I have served as a ward mission leader for 15 years, and I served as a bishop for 7 years. But in all the service that I've had in the church, my most wonderful spiritual experiences happened to me when I was a ward mission leader. I treasure those moments, and I thank wholeheartedly all those that take up the challenge and head out into the mission field to touch the hearts of all those that are willing to learn. And just to leave you with our testimonies that I know that God lives and that Jesus is the Christ. I'm grateful for the gospel in our lives and for the wonderful experiences that we reap from it. You You know, in everything that we do, we try and attain the blessings of our Father in heaven and hope that He blesses us, not because of His tender mercies, which He does anyway, but we hope that He blesses us because of obedience that we have. And grateful for the living prophet that we have. We are so lucky to be living in a land where the chapels are just across the road. 2 chapels, for goodness sakes, across the road from each other. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But you're so lucky to be able to live in this land. You're so lucky to be able to have to be here where the church first started. A wonderful place. I can see now why the Lord chose this place to kickstart, so to speak, the gospel throughout the world. I know that Prophet Joseph Smith indeed saw the Son of Jesus Christ in our Heavenly Father, and I know that our Heavenly Father pointed to His Son and said to Joseph Smith, "Here you go." I'm grateful for the testimonies that have been born throughout my years, for those saints that have gone before me, and once again I want to thank you, the families, for supporting your son and sending him out. First of all, the other Clark, for having a willing heart to go out on the mission, and for you all to support him. We loved him. We loved having him in our home. I think he was in our home most times, and we looked at him as if he was our own son. But I want to just leave this testimony with you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.